The boys are live on a Thursday night. No storms. Let's go. I don't have to worry about putting my kids into a bathtub. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen, from the Pink Seats podcast. Jacob Lane, producer Keith, Matt McGavick, Vince Lococo. We are talking Louisville football. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done this thing. But that's okay. That's all right. They haven't forgotten about us, right? We've earned that now. I don't think they've forgotten about us before. Like, hey guys, we can't take the week off because they might not remember that we exist. Now we made it, right? Now we're live. We got people hanging out with us. We're good to go.
Chat room, let us know we exist.
Let us know that we are not alone and it's not just my mom watching. But no, great to be back tonight live from the Pink Seats podcast, part of the State of Louisville podcast network, home to 4 original shows. That is all powered by Kern's Corner, our friend over in the Highlands, home to the city's best patty melt, best chili. I know it's not chili season right now, but still the place to be for the summer. They got the
it's always chili season.
They've got the outside seating, the place to be. And we got to thank our friends, Frankfurt Avenue Liquors and Wine. That is the logo right down here. I don't know if I'm showing up for everybody in this bottom left-hand corner, but here we go. Right here. Those are our friends at Frankfurt Avenue Liquor and Wine, 2115 Frankfurt Avenue, right next to the Manhattan Project. They have a parking lot, full-service bar. Liquor store. Get everything you need all in one place. Get a drink for the night at the bar. Stop in and get a 6-pack, whatever you need. Check them out. Tell them from the Pink Seats podcast sent you. Guys, we got a good show. A lot to get into. First of all, let's just start with pleasantries. I haven't seen you all in a little bit. Except for Vince. I saw Vince. We're not getting into the last time I saw Vince and what I did. I really messed up bad. Real bad.
Love you, Taylor.
Yes. My wife.
I forgot about that.
Y'all remember that now. That's great. Yeah. So that was the last time I saw Vince. I had a great time. I've actually, Vince, oddly enough, seen Isaac twice since that night. I've discovered that Isaac and I have a very close mutual friend who's not you. So now I get to see Isaac sometimes outside of you, which is interesting. Wow. So it's like God wants me and Isaac to be friends. I texted him a picture of Liam's hair. It was like, this is fullback hair, right? So, you know, it just be like that sometimes. How you guys doing? Let's start. Vince, how are you, man? It's good to see you.
Good. Yankees just lost, so, I mean, that's not great. But other than that, still doing better than the Reds.
Okay. Matt,
yeah, I was about to say, Vince, I don't want to hear all the Yankees lost one game. Oh, no.
Well, Matt, see, when you have a standard like us, losing one game,
payroll.
I mean, it hurts. It hurts. Get your bank count up. I don't know what to tell you.
He's a broke boy. Get rid of the team.
Keith, did you get a haircut or is it slicked back? I'm having a hard time telling.
Oh, slicked back and in a bun tonight. So
let's see the side profile, brother.
Oh, the side profile.
Let's see the price. Look at the bun on that.
Hey.
Baby bun. We're getting
bun.
there.
You look like Kyle Guy, man. That's what you look like tonight. About to shin kick somebody tonight with your thigh tattoos. That's what we're getting into. Well, hey, it's great to see you all. Glad to be back together. It's been a couple of weeks, as I mentioned, prior to the NFL draft. But, hey, no better time than now to get back together and talk some football despite, it's like jam-packed in the middle of Kentucky Derby, transfer portal, PGA Championship. Like, we're going to cover all that, but tonight's football's night. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to talk a little bit about the draft. I've got some some questions for Vince. We're going to play a video from ESPN's Dan Orlovsky. Has always been one of my favorite personalities, but him breaking down a playbook is the most fascinating thing. But I just have so many questions of, like, where do you start? What do you do? Flashcards. What do you write down? How do you figure it out? What's the words? So we're going to dive into that. I told the group to please just let me ask my dumb questions and to not try. And Matt, I'm looking at you. Try to not interrupt and stomp all over it, make me feel stupid in the way that only you can.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
And then we got some recruiting to get into as well. The portal it seems to be kind of done for Louisville, but they've gotten 5 commitments since the last time we've been together. We won't spend too much time on that, but we'll also talk 2025 recruiting. Keith has been keeping up with that class. I'm so Kendrick Lamar wanted me to say minor. I don't know. I just couldn't do it. Couldn't bring myself to do it right there. It didn't feel right. We'll see if that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. But Keith is going to talk about the kids at camp. Still feels like I said minors. Like, still feels really weird.
Sounds worse when you say kids at camp.
You're killing me here.
We're going to talk about recruits at camp. How about that? And then give a little bit of a big board because I have not been paying as much attention as I should, admittedly. So we're going to reset that tonight. Matt and Keith, who cover that and pay attention to that ad nauseum, will walk us through that. And then if we have time, I'd like to get into Louisville's schedule, and more specifically the road games. And I want to do a little bit of a road game rankings because we just got the email today that single game tickets have gone on sale for the road games. Our group chat is trying to figure out where we doing, what we, all of you are like, yeah, I'm going. Matt's like, oh, be there in the press box. And I'm over here trying to figure out, like, the ticket's going to be $5 because I'm too poor to afford tickets.
Doesn't matter. We're dragging you.
That's right.
We're
going to
drag
you to South Bend.
We'll staple you up there with touchdown Jesus, and you can just watch
Yeah.
my aerial view.
Yeah. 2 people got crucified with Jesus, right? You can be one of the 2.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oddly enough, that's so funny you say that because I have a Bible verse on my left arm that is from one of the gentlemen that was hung on the cross next to Jesus. So how about that?
Oh,
there you go.
But I would say that's the game. That's the game.
Well, here's what we'll do.
Say,
Well, I want the audience, if you're listening via YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, jump in here, drop your comments, follow us on Twitter and social media and all that if you're not. But I want to know, fans, like, if you're prioritizing a road game this year, what is it? Because this is a really fascinating schedule for Louisville. And again, we're going to get into this later in the show, but for the sake of engagement and just getting the folks thinking about this, when you look at Louisville's schedule in 2024, you're talking about road trips to Notre Dame. You're talking about road trips to Boston College. You're talking about road trips to Clemson, to Stanford, which I told Presley before they announced the schedule, we're going to Stanford the first time that Louisville plays. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Well, now it's this year. Shit, I can't afford to go to Palo Alto this year. That's too quick of a turnaround.
I looked at that. I said that is the
Spirit
one
Airlines,
I will
baby.
not be going to.
Yeah.
Hey,
so
Josh Hurd made it sound so cheap to fly out there. Come on.
yeah. If you want to
No,
wait 4 days
you
if your
want
flight
about
gets
that.
canceled.
Spirit red eye flight out there.
Yeah, I don't know how many
Second
people
hop in
can
with
say
the
they've
team.
successfully been on a red-eye flight on Spirit and not had any hiccups. But I'm curious, what are the games that you want to prioritize going to? Louisville's obviously been to Notre Dame, but it's been since, well, gosh, what was that, 2015, 2014? I forget what year that was, right, with Reggie? Have they been back since? No, that you all went during
14?
COVID.
Yeah, no, they
we
went in the
there.
COVID year, yeah.
Yeah, because that was the game where, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was – God, was it Catrell Clark that had like 3 dropped interceptions, or somebody did in that game? That was where they
This is the game we couldn't do anything. It's the game where, shocker, surprise, surprise, we couldn't get anything going offensively.
Yeah, but defensively, it's like the best game of the season. They held them like 7 points.
Dude,
I think the final score of that game was 12
Oh, that's
to
right. It was
6.
like 9-7 or something like that,
with
right?
Ian
Yeah.
Book, yeah.
I think it was. I actually think it was 12-7. I'm almost certain that was the actual score.
Man.
Do you feel better that you said that? I'm just curious. Like, do you feel better that you corrected me by 1
It
point?
feels good to be right. So
I'm
and I
kidding.
appreciate
I love
it.
it, brother.
does.
But yeah,
It's
we'll
better
talk
with
about that.
with a Cardinal.
There you go. And that is not a paid advertisement, but it should be. They
No,
should
it's not.
clip that.
It's just good beer.
Gravely, hit
Yeah.
us up, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miller Lite, hit us up.
That's the most Vincent Lococo ask ever. Look, man, I just need 5-star.
Yeah.
Give me Skyline. Give me,
And Miller Lite.
Miracle.
Miller Lite.
He's a simple man. He can't help himself.
That's right.
Thanks. Matt, you and I can finally agree on one thing.
I forgot what we were even talking about, man. What was? Oh,
We were
traveling
talking
out to
about best
Palo
road
Alto.
game.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that, and we'll get to ours here in a bit. But let's start with the draft. And Vince and Matt, I did not prepare the way I should, so I am going to rely on your journalistic integrity to help me with where these fellas were picked. We know that there was 4 guys drafted, and leading up to the draft, it kind of felt like it was going to be 3. But I gotta say, guys, like the best moment of that weekend for me was Jaws getting drafted, and then to see the phone call, like for him, like we know he wasn't hit at his best during the process. For him to get with Houston, that offense, I'm telling you guys, he's gonna play. Like when he's healthy, he's gonna play there. He's gonna make it. Got a nice signing bonus, but glad to see 4 guys drafted, man.
In regards to the NFL draft, I think I have to eat my words here, fellas, because I have said the past 3 years that Will Shipley won't get drafted, and here we are.
There you go.
Hold on. Keith, you and I need to work on this project here because I'm pretty sure Vince and I made a bet about a year ago that I had a take that he would be drafted, and I'm fairly certain that there was a bet made. So we need to go back and check the tape on that and see where we're at as a show on.
I think, Vince, you're cutting out a little bit there, but I don't know. Whoever can grease the pump. Who's got the strongest back when I move downtown here in a month?
That's
That
Matt's
might be
buddy.
what
Well,
determines
well,
who I help in
well,
that
I already
project.
live downtown, so
All right,
Matt,
guess
you'll
well,
be
I
getting a
just,
phone call.
yeah, no
let's talk about
kidding.
the draft. Why he tries to get his internet figured out. He jumped back into the portal and went to 1997 and got dial-up internet. But Matt, what about this draft? Tell me round teams. Just recap it for us, and then we'll break it down.
So Isaac was the first one off the board, if I remember correctly, and he went to the Niners. And God, when you talk about it, like a scheme fit right there, I mean, it's hard to do better than a running back in a Kyle Shanahan type offense. I mean, yeah, Garindo is going to be behind CMC and Elijah Mitchell out there in San Fran, but I mean, if who knows, like if CMC is going to have another healthy season or how much tread is left on his tires. So I don't think Isaac's going to be a immediate contributor in San Fran, but I think he's definitely got a role at some point, maybe in the next like couple seasons or so. Jamari, he went to the Browns. I'll be honest, I don't know like a ton about their wide receiver situation because I mean it's Cleveland. Who truly pays attention to
Tough to
Cleveland?
pay wide receivers when you got 230 million tied up in a backup.
Well, yeah. Well, I just looked it up, and their top two options are Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper. So I mean, it's going to be tough to kind of crack that starting line of wide receivers, especially plus they just got Elijah Moore from the New York Jets too. But I mean, oh god, like Cleveland's got a deeper wide receiver room than I realized. They've also
They're
got
sneaky.
David Bell, Cedric Tillman. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of fit to like early playing time, that might not be like the best fit, especially since you've got Deshaun Watson throwing you the ball and your backup is Jameis Winston. So I mean, let's just hope for the best there. Honestly, just on the fly, that doesn't look like a great situation. But hey, he got drafted in really high in day 3, so that's always a great thing. Jarvis, he went to the Titans. I think he'll probably get some early playing time there, just because. I mean, Tennessee, they're kind of in rebuilding mode. Honestly, they've been that way for the last season or so. I still think that was a mistake for them to fire. Oh God, who was their old coach? Vrabel. Yep,
Yeah.
he was kind of made the scapegoat last season. It wasn't really like a ton that was his fault. So I really do think he's gonna do well down there in Tennessee. And who am I missing? Jaws. Oh yeah, Jaws. Jaws went to the Texans. I know, Jacob, you said that he's probably going to have a path to early playing time. It's going to be a little difficult because they just signed Joe Mixon, and they've also got Dameon Pierce there, who he had a really bad year last year after a great rookie year. But if Dameon Pierce can't bounce back, I mean, who's to say that Jaws can't carve in a backup spot at some point? But
Yeah.
so I do think that it's going to be a little bit difficult to find some playing time there in Houston. But I mean, there's opportunity. If you can find an opportunity, go for it.
So that leads me to ask the question: who's got the best fit? Because you look at all of them, and you kind of mentioned, Isaac doesn't really have a path to playing time. Jamari Thrash doesn't really have a path to playing time. You don't really have a path to playing time for Jaws. So is that by default leave you with Jarvis as the best fit in Nashville?
I think it's going to be Jarvis because I'm looking at their depth chart now. And I actually completely forgot that they traded for L'Jarius Sneed. Great trade there. And then they've also got Chidobe Awuzie, who came over from Cincy. That's a really good free agent ad for them. So Tennessee's got a deeper cornerback room than I realized. So he's probably not going to be competing for starter reps right out the gate. But, I mean, if he can compete for, that nickel spot, because that's probably where he's going to project at the NFL level. I mean, if he can really compete – oh, hey, Vince.
There we go. I love it, man.
Hey, that's a team player right there. He took it for the team and went to the phone.
Yeah,
But yeah, if he can compete for spots at nickel, yeah, I know, I get it. I think it is probably Jarvis. Long story short.
Yeah, and I could see it. I was just looking to see who they hired as their defensive coordinator, and I actually forgot about this. Their defensive coordinator was Baltimore's defensive back coach last year. And so
That's right.
I love what that means for how they'll use Jarvis. I think you could see him eventually developing, assuming he can kind of eliminate some of those plays where he gets burned trying to press at the line of scrimmage or trying to, make a big play and missing. But I've told you guys my take for a while. His style of play is Trayvon Diggs-esque. I was really hoping that he would be able to go play for Dan Quinn, but I like this fit in terms of him being in Tennessee. Vince, I know your internet is all over the place. I have no idea if you can hear me. Blink twice if you can. Okay, you can hear me. All right, great. You do sound like you're in like a closet, though. Yes, but you sound like you are in a closet. So that's okay. Once we'll get this figured out, I'm gonna get you some new internet. I think I owe you that. But I want to ask you, who is the best fit out of the four in your opinion? Matt kind of talked about while you're trying to get your internet that there's not really a direct path to playing time just yet for some of these guys. And I don't know if we lost Vince again. I'm gonna just continue on though. Who's the best fit, Vince?
Isaac for sure. I mean, CMC eventually will, tires will eventually fall off there, in my opinion. He's already had some injury history, so we'll see. I'm not really sure though, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to figure out my camera.
Well, I mean, to piggyback off of that, Garendo's natural athleticism is going to fit really well in a Kyle Shanahan offense. So I think there are a lot of tools in place to where he can succeed. That said, I'm going to be the cool guy. I reject your question and will replace it with my own. With that, I think Eric Miller actually is going into a really good spot up in Cincinnati. There's a lot of reps available there because Orlando and Trent Brown, both with the Bengals, while probably firmly cemented in as starters, have had durability issues in the past. So if he's able to make his way out of camp and onto the roster, which is the hardest thing for fringe O linemen to do, there's a very clear path to the field here. And I think that was a very frugal free agent signing by the Bengals.
And whenever I cut out, I know Matt was talking about the Browns and Jamari Thrash. I mean, isn't Cooper still up there, I believe?
Yeah, no, I took a look at their depth chart, and they've got Amari Cooper, they've got Jerry Jeudy, they've got a David Bell, they've got
See,
a
that
couple.
could be a spot where Jamari could thrive in, because I mean, Jeudy he's on his last shot right here with the Browns. I mean, nobody liked him with the Broncos. So.
Yeah, they've got Elijah Moore as well. I mean, they really loaded up on receiver. I guess I didn't realize like how well they did like in that room. Now again, you got Deshaun Watson throwing you the football, and Jameis Winston's your backup. So
they're going to throw the ball a lot. One first is what's the health of Nick Chubb up in Cleveland? Is he going to be able to get back in early in the season, or will it be a late in the season type of deal? If not, they're going to be much more of a pass-heavy team without him than what they were last year. I think they have a need for him. I think he could fit in well. I want to go back to Isaac Garriendo. Because I think he's a guy who Vince mentioned could see legitimate playing time. Now, last year, Christian McCaffrey kind of had an anomaly of a season in the fact that he played 16 games. That was not something he had done previously.
Yeah.
It looked like he played – it says in 2022 he played 16 games, but I feel like he missed a good chunk of time during that season.
He missed an entire season one year.
Yeah, I know he's had injury histories. He played 7 in 2021, 3 in 2020. But he's obviously dealt with some injury issues over the course of his last couple of years, and as running backs do, they start to break down with more usage. And with them being a team that's competitive for the Super Bowl, and maybe even the favorite for the Super Bowl, I could see them bringing Isaac in pretty quickly. Their backup last year was Elijah Mitchell, and I believe he is still with San Francisco. So you're talking about a guy who's been there for 4 years now and has played pretty consistently. But behind him, it was Jordan Mason, who, if I'm not mistaken, played at Georgia Tech. So you're not really talking about.
They put the guys like Debo back there in the backfield and hand the ball to him. But Debo doesn't like doing that stuff. So here's your extra option for bringing another running back if you need to. And Isaac, I mean, I think he could find a path on the field. I'm not sure. I'm banking on Christian McCaffrey not having that many years left and playing at like a very high level.
And also the fact that Shanahan mixes in players very well. Honestly, with the new kickoff rule where they're using the XFL model, you could see Garendo returning kicks. I know he briefly did that for Louisville this year.
Let's stop there for a second. Can we stop for a second? Help me understand this. I've been in like part-time football hibernation, okay? And I've not kept up. I was going to try so hard to watch the USL, but it's just not happened. UFL, USL. Do
I got
right?
you. It's
Thank
UFL.
you. Thank you. No, just feel free to correct me. That's your lane, man. So feel free.
I'm
to
your
correct me. You're my my UFL.
So,
the gym,
trying to get an
right.
understanding on the kickoff, I assume?
Yes, help me understand the kickoff.
Okay. So, kicker's going to kick the ball from where kickers normally kick the ball. However, everyone else is going to be lined up on the 35-yard line, the opposing 35-yard line. The kick return team will have one designated returner. Everyone else on the return team lines up on the 25-yard line. So there's 10 yards of separation. No one other than the kicker and the returner can move until the returner catches the ball. Okay. If the ball is kicked straight into the end zone, now XFL rules, it was a touchback and the ball gets moved to the 35-yard line if he kicks it straight into the end zone. If he kicks it and it bounces, because the ball, like on the kick, the ball has to land within the 20 to the end zone. If it lands in that target area, bounces into the end zone, that's a touchback, but it comes out to, I believe, the 15 was the XFL rule. So you're penalized for not catching the kick if it lands in play. So normally what happened almost every time, ball is kicked, returner catches it. When the returner catches it, then the rest of the teams can move. So it's essentially artificially creating kick returns by penalizing you for kicking it deep or penalizing you for not catching it while reducing the risk for injury because the players are only 10 yards apart and not, kickoff team's on a full sprint while the return team just turned around and has 5 yards to get in front of somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, as a player, I would love it. As a fan, I'm like, this is stupid. Bring back.
It takes getting used to, but it rules because you actually get to have kick returns again.
Okay, so we will get more kick returns.
You should get more kick returns unless teams just decide, no, we'll just let the offenses start at the 35.
Okay, well,
it should create a lot more kick returns and make them relevant again, as opposed to everyone just booting everything through the end zone.
Okay, I'm here for that.
I didn't know that last part, honestly. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Okay, very nice. Well,
so
I'm here for rule changes. I mean, as long as we get more football.
Yeah, I was a big fan of it, so hoping that it works out well in the NFL and could bring back the position need of having a good kick returner on your team. So
we grew up.
I could see
my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. We grew up in a prime time for kick returners. Dante Hall, Devin Hester.
Devin Hester, the GOAT.
Hester.
Tyrann Mathieu was my favorite in college. He was so fun to watch as a return man. I mean, just
Percy Harvin.
Percy Harvin is a great.
Was it Priest Holmes, I believe, who was a good kick returner?
No. What? No, Priest.
I think Dante Hall's who the chief player was who I was thinking of. Priest Holmes. He was the running back.
Growing up, though, I remember having a Sega Genesis and playing NFL 2K on it. And the Ravens, like early 2000s, had a kick returner. I cannot remember his name, but he was like a star. Like I for the love of me cannot remember his name. I think he was number 84. I want to say like. I think his name
was so much better, man.
Oh man, they got to bring that back, man. NFL 2K needs to come back. I need college.
They
2K
can't.
As well.
Madden has the exclusive simulation football license. So
I can't wait to see the loss Madden takes after NCAA.
No, the NFL agreed and re-upped
it. They renew it. Okay, I was gonna say because I remember that being a topic. Like, would 2K get back in? What about college though? Can 2K get in there?
Yeah, they could.
Where's the 2K college basketball game? That's what I want to know. Bring that shit back now. Oh my god!
I mean theoretically they could, but I think just the litigious matter of paying players in the NCAA and even like with football having so many hurdles with 133 schools now, 135 I think now with Kennesaw State, but with basketball you've got 300 some odd teams, 300 different groups of people that you have to negotiate with.
Yeah.
Matt and I want college baseball.
All right. The college baseball game ruled.
That game
was
fun,
man.
It was
so much fun. Back in the day.
Enough NCAA talk.
No,
Yeah,
and
we're
no,
gonna.
there's never enough of that. But I will say they just need a little bit of money under their belt, and they'll be able to do the basketball game. Like it's just 1 year of profit off football will pay for everything else.
I was going to say
yeah.
EA makes billion
yeah.
plus annually off of Madden. They're doing just fine with money.
Yes,
So-
exactly. So, all right, well, let's transition a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about Louisville football recruiting because, actually, you know what? Let me back up a little bit because I want to actually talk about the guys going into minicamp. That brings us back to what I really wanted to get into tonight. The video that I sent you all earlier was the video of Dan Orlovsky breaking out his Texans playbook for 2008 and really giving us a snapshot into what these rookies are going to go, like what they're preparing for and what they're stepping into. And while Vince, I know that you probably I don't know how much of an NFL playbook you've seen, whether it be from some of the friends that you've had that are in the NFL and maybe talking
Well, I
with
can
them.
tell you, Scott Satterfield's is not an NFL playbook.
Okay, yeah, but I do want to I want to pick your brain in terms of how guys dissect a playbook and how you take, this 4-inch thick binder that's every play, every all that after we watch this video. So Keith, if you don't mind, let's load up the tweet from Dan Orlovsky, who is a ESPN football analyst, played for the Detroit Lions for a long time, was
ran through the back of an end zone.
Ran through the back of the end zone, farted in his car in an interview. He's one of my favorite personalities, and Vince laughs at me because I've always said my dream for state of Louisville is to eventually get like a floor to ceiling like film wall where Vince can be Dan Orlovsky and we can get him a Ryan Clark and the two of them can just go back and forth, touching the screen, breaking down film, drawing, circling. Like it's one of my favorite things ESPN does. And he is just so incredibly smart overall as a football analyst. So, Keith, if you have that video loaded up, would you mind dropping that in? I would love to watch that.
Coming in hot.
Camps starting, post-NFL draft. Some have already started. Most will start soon. I have my 2008 offensive playbook. Kyle Shanahan's. Now, some of Kyle's language and verbiage might have changed, but the foundation of it remains the same. This is how big it is and how many pages. Some of it might be digital. What do we talk about all the time when it comes to rookies and playing in the NFL? How quickly they can learn and then go apply the playbook. And I thought it'd be cool for everyone to understand kind of what that process is for these rookies. Now, when it comes to the install, you'll start at the very basics. Like you take this book and it will start with general terminology. And that general terminology might be just some words that get used for them to be able to talk football throughout the whole install process, okay? And then you go to the huddle for these quarterbacks specifically. Not every huddle is the same in the NFL. Some quarterbacks stand in a certain area. Some receivers stand in a certain. Learning that huddle in the NFL. The cadence, what I just talked about. Look at all these different cadences that you can go through. Quick, long count, on personnel groupings. That's who's on the field, right? Look at all these different personnel groupings that you got to be able to learn from. So you're trying to make sure that you're giving all these guys all this information to see how much they can handle. The splits, the different kinds of splits is where these receivers or tight ends are, what word or phrase tells who to be the motion guy and where he's going to start and where he's going to end up. And then the route tree, what route is called what? Is it a number? Is it a digit? So there's that, okay? That's just getting to the line of scrimmage, essentially. All that information that you give your guys. And the rookie quarterbacks have to know that inside and out to actually operate, right? And so this is really 8 days of your offensive playbook getting completely installed, right? And so you will do that in rookie minicamp. How much can you actually take onto the field? And then you'll do that again at mandatory minicamp. Are you a little bit better than you were in rookie minicamp when it comes to all the different things that we have to know? And then they'll do it again in training camp. Okay, can we actually go? Are you a viable option for us to play on Sundays this season? And so I thought it was really cool and really important for everyone to understand, look how big this is. This is all that these rookies have to learn for those coaches to trust. Hey, you can go impact the game for us and put you on the field.
My brain hurts, man. Lord have mercy. He just the funniest thing to me is the continuation of him flipping the pages, like the editing in it and him flipping the pages. It's incredible because he's.
It was a 5.5 minute long video, so
right, and he's just flipping through this freaking textbook. But I found this video so fascinating, Vince, and I've got to come to you for this because you have not only been on the playing side, but you've been on the coaching side. So you've helped to implement this. You've helped guys. I'm sure you've sat in meeting room after meeting room. And I'm sorry, my brother-in-law is bugging me about my light, so I got to fix this. The green is not working. I thought it was going to look good. It's not working, so I'm going to go yellow here. I started to blend into the wall really quickly. But no, I just, Vince, I've got to ask, man, as a guy who did not play at a high level, I just cannot comprehend how you learn the motions, the splits, the lineup, all of it. I cannot freaking get my mind around it. So help me understand. Take me into your first day. Let's just, I guess under Satterfield, because you were still going to play, right? So that was learning the playbook. But just take me through the process of how you, not anybody else, you attack learning a playbook.
Well, with Satterfield's, they taught it really well. So that's the difference between Petrino and Satterfield. Is I thought Petrino didn't really teach the playbook as well. Obviously, plays and stuff were a lot better, but I loved how Satterfield and them taught everything. And I essentially just went to the board and started drawing. In the tight end room, there's a wall-to-wall whiteboard, and I drew ace until it filled up that entire board. And then I erased it, and then I drew troop until it filled the entire board. And I went down each formation. And I did that probably 3 to 5 times until I had it down. And then I kind of start quizzing myself and, keep going. And then I add a motion. And then you don't really know the plays until, coach is going in depth with you and everything like that. You're in a meeting room and stuff. But for me, I would start with formations. Always start with formations because you have to know where to line up first. The first thing we're going to teach you is like ace is universal for everybody. It's a 2x2 formation. That's, 2 wide receivers split out wide. You see it all the time. So that's a formation that you almost expect your wide receivers, quarterbacks, everybody to kind of know. Now, mind you, the offensive line, Keith knows, y'all ain't worried about any of this stuff. Y'all are looking at 0, 1, 2, 2, all that good stuff. Y'all don't care about you might care about where the wide receivers and tight ends might line up a little bit if you're the tackles and stuff, just in relation to them going and getting a block inside. But outside that, they're not.
Yeah, for O-line perspective on install, when it comes to formations and things like that, unless your team's got like a gimmick A11 formation or anything like that, it's meaningless to you. But unless you are like a bona fide starting center or bona fide locked in at a position, you're going through individual plays and you're learning what every single position does on that play to maximize your playability. But the challenging aspect of O-line play is that there are no set in stone assignments because the defense is always a variable.
Exactly.
So, which is the differences between positions. That's why O-line, at least in my opinion, is one of the toughest because you never have a set answer.
And what we did a lot, Petrino did this, Satterfield does this. I'm sure a lot of schools around the country do this. Robbie and them do it at Tech. Is they group everything into families, into these groups. So like all your 11 personnel, like you would know, would not start with a D. So with Satterfield and them, all your 12 personnel started with a D. Deuce, dice, ding, Dumbo. So if you heard a D at the start of the sentence or start of the play, then you know, okay, boom, we need another tight end in the game. Wide receivers coming out. If you heard, anything with a TR, that's going to be a 3x1 formation. So troop, trio, trips, it's going to be 2 wide receivers and a tight end to one side and then another receiver to the opposite side. So you start grouping things down by these families and you start saying, okay, well, we only have 3 sets of these 3x1s and we only have 5 sets of these with a D. So you start grouping everything together. By that time, you have everything learned, and you don't really realize you have everything learned. And you start progressing with the motions and things like that. The motions and stuff with the receivers is it's easy to learn, and the hard part about learning these motions is learning where you're at when the motions finish. Like you need to realize, okay, I'm starting an ace, and if they call M fly. If they call ace right, M fly, you need to know that, the M is flying around behind the quarterback and it's now turning into a 3x1 trio set formation. That's where you get a lot of guys messing up, is they don't realize, oh, they still think I'm the number 2 wide receiver. No, you have now, since you motion, become the number 3 wide receiver. So it's a lot of details like that. Quarterbacks and stuff, you're probably gonna, I mean, yeah, I don't really know where you would start quarterbacks, to be honest. That's pretty tough. I would probably start with where your eyes go pre-snap, free safety, making sure they understand zone and man, eyes, and things like that. I know Brew would be heavy on alignment, so the distance between the bottom of the numbers and the hash, or the top of the numbers and the sideline, things like that. So that, like that fade ball with Chris Bell that he ran in the spring game. I guarantee you, Coach McGee was licking his chops, seeing the fact that Chris Bell understood the fact that I need to be a little bit tighter right here to give Tyler Shuck the room to throw the ball outside. And he did, and it ended up in a touchdown.
I feel like you can tell who really enjoyed school versus not during that discussion, because Matt's sitting there attentive, listening, and Jacob looked like his eyes glazed over about 3 times.
I mean,
that's not fair.
Like, it's a lot.
Say it's not fair. I'm managing the back end of this. I'm trying to tweet the show out. Like, give me a break. I'm the one that wanted to do this, so trust me, I'm listening. This is actually the most
signals was my thing. That's what since I did that with the offense, like that was my control. Me, Zed Spear, and then Curtis Fitch was the guy after that. Like finding ways to relate my hand signals to something in the real world that would help you mind tap and realize that, that's the play we're running.
Yeah.
Like 40 smack was a huge play with Sat in them, and it'd be the signal would just be grabbing a 40 out of the refrigerator is what I used to tell guys. It's just like I'm going 40 out the fridge.
I figured it'd be just tape the hand, Edwards 40 hands.
See, you laugh and you giggle and stuff, but that laugh and that giggle is that mind tap where you probably don't forget that again now. If I used to teach the wide receivers that if there was a U in the formation in a 2 tight end set, then that meant the wide receivers were split. They were on opposite sides, making a U behind the formation.
Okay.
So you would know, say I'm the X wide receiver and I hear Deuce Right, I'm like, shit, I don't know where the hell to line up. It's a U. I know the Z always goes to the strength. I'm backside. Line up. But you have to think quick. Like these are like quick thoughts that are going into your head.
Oh my God. I could never play football hungover or having been under any type of influence.
That's what winter weights are.
That's why we go to hotel Fridays.
Yeah, exactly right. So the guys aren't hungover and off one the next morning. I just find this so fascinating. Just the way that it works. Now take me back, and you talked a little bit about this, and I don't want you to necessarily give me any names, but just put yourself in a situation where a guy in either 2019 or 2020 on that team came to you and they just didn't get it. What would be some of the major hurdles learning a playbook? Obviously, time spent if you're not in there, really putting in the work.
Translating it from the meeting room to the field, or vice versa. You're able to do it on the field, but can't do it in the meeting room. You have to be able to do it in both. They want you to be able to verbalize it and talk their language just as much as they want you to be able to go out there and run it. If you can't sit there and talk through what you're seeing in a meeting room on film with the ball coach, then you're not going to be able to come to the sideline and me be like, hey, Jacob, what'd you see right there? And you're like, Coach, I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know, Coach. I just went and blocked somebody. That's not an acceptable answer.
Follow-up question. Who is the smartest playbook player you played with at Louisville? Or coached? Who is the guy that knew that thing? And they don't even have to be a starter, but they knew that playbook cover to cover. You asked them what's on page 44. They said blah, 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 blah. Whatever the play is, Spider 2, Y banana. Who was that guy? Who was the smart, football book, just lived in that thing?
I would probably say drawing it up wise and stuff like that. Evan Conley would be your best guy, but on the field, doing it and running it wise, just the guys I was around, Des Fitzpatrick, hands down. I mean, the way the kid evaluated spacing of where he was at pre-snap, how he evaluated running routes while he was running it, what the defense was doing and everything as he's running the route. I mean, I always talk about our senior night game where Dez was running a locked curl. we did not give him the option to run a go. And he saw there was press coverage, no safety over top, and he just took it. And Malik hit him on a go route. I mean, he did not have it at all. If that's a play, if he drops that ball, he's likely getting his ass ripped coming to the sideline. But he caught it and scored a touchdown. And that's like the heads up stuff that one gets you drafted, and two, like that's coaches just love that.
Yeah, that's incredible insight. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here now. Let's move to the portal. Let's talk a little bit more Louisville football. Just to reset the show from the Pink Seats podcast, Jacob Lane, producer Keith, Vince Lococo, Matt McGavick at Pink Seats Pod on Twitter, at the State of Lou, at Matt_McGavick, at Vince Lococo. Jeez Louise, man, the Twitter handles are escaping me now. I don't even know if I know mine. Jacob Lane 08 and Toph Shelf.
Actually, I was able to get that updated. Now it's producer_Keith.
Man, that's making life easy for me.
Made it so much easier.
Only producer_Keith.
I love it, man.
Right.
Gosh, that's great.
I was floored.
We got a new Twitter handle. That's like the day when Matt, one of the groundbreaking days in Pink Seats Pod history is when Matt went from General Wasp to Matt McGavick. It was the day when Matt's
we got to graduate from the gamer tag at some point.
It had to be done.
All right. Well, let's talk portal. Again, presented by Frankfurt Avenue Liquors and Wine, Kern's Corner. Make sure you check them out. Let's get you in here, engaged in the show. If you've been listening so far, what is the most intimidating thing about an NFL or college football playbook? Because I'm intimidated trying to learn the plays. Real quick, just last thing on this, Vince. I think I've told you this before. I think I've asked you this in confidence. I'll say it out loud, but look over and I'll be like, hey, how did they know who went in on that play? That's one thing with football, it's free flowing. Like, how do you know what they're gonna call on third down? Like, you have to be. It feels like you got to be ready. You know, like that.
Yeah, that's why you're always locked in the game.
Stay
always
ready.
locked in the game.
Yeah, no.
Stay ready. So
you're going over personnel before that. You are working on that personnel on Monday.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
Brew always did it. Alpha Bravo Charlie. So like Alpha Group, be like Des, Tutu,
Justin, starters,
Justin, Echo, Charlie would be your 2s and your 3s. So Brew would do it like that. Some guys would just be like O-line, come to the sideline after a series because you ain't getting a rep in the middle of a series.
Right.
And they come back to the sideline like, hey, coach, I need a breather. That's when you sub then. Quarterback, I don't sub.
Nope, they can't sub. I cannot imagine a quarterback being like, Coach, can I come out for a play? That would be me, actually. So I can respect that. All right, let's talk about the portal. We got 5 new players that have joined the Louisville football program during the spring window. Most of them, actually all of them, on the defensive side of the ball, which I just really find fascinating, considering where Louisville was. Now, again, some deflections that really, seem like big losses on paper, like a Tyler Barron, Wesley Walker. You call it what you want to call it. Some others, Tafik Thomas. You know the list by now of guys that have left and gone elsewhere. But Louisville brings in a couple of edge rushers, some linebackers, and some defensive line help. Just quickly, I'll run through this. Tremel Logan, edge rusher, linebacker, Florida. Richard Kinley, defensive end out of Middle Tennessee State. You have Renee Conga from Rutgers, and then Dan Foster Jr., linebacker from Texas State, and Miles Jernigan, a edge rusher, outside linebacker from California. All of those are seemingly, depth pieces. I don't think Louisville really necessarily needed a ton of starters. But Matt, I'll come to you first on this. Who is most likely to impact this team next season the most out of those 5 guys?
So I think it's either going to be Tremel Logan or Miles Jernigan, because those two are probably going to be the ones fighting for, the reps to start alongside Ashton Gelati on the edges. I know Miles Jernigan, he's more of like an outside linebacker, like a 3-4 scheme. So he's like a proper edge rusher, not like a true defensive end. So like he's probably the most tailor-made, like from a system standpoint, in terms of playing like the Leo position that's in this defense. But in terms of production and experience, I would probably say that Tremel Logan out of USF would probably has a leg up on him on that regard, because I think he's more of a true D end than an actual like the Leo as they call it in the system, but he's his tape looks pretty good. I think I don't have the stats right in front of me, but the stats were a little bit better. So I think it's going to come down to one of those two. If I had to pick who's going to start on the edge alongside Ashton, it's probably going to be Tramel Logan. Though I think with just the amount of pieces they brought in, they're going to rotate on the edges a lot because Ashton's going to get his fair share, and he's going to rotate on the line at several spots, not just at like the true DN spot. Because I know the coaches at some point during the spring mentioned that like they're going to try and exploit some of the weaknesses they see on the opponent's offensive line, and that could involve moving Ashton further out, moving him in a D tackle type role. So in that case,
you see Ashton at a zero tech. I want to see it so bad.
Me too.
That would be amazing. So as a result, they kind of needed some of that extra depth in case Ashton either plays in or he just needs series off because he's been playing his ass off. So from a production and like experience standpoint, it sucks to lose Tyler Barron. There's no spinning that. But if you hear some of the rumors and chatter as to why he left, maybe it's not the biggest loss in the world. Also, at least from an off the
spin zone, he never played it down for us. You can't really mourn what you never really had.
That's true.
And even with what we didn't have Reiger and Springball either, and the D line still looked good.
Mm-hmm.
So
and now I remember heading into Springball before it was really injury stricken. I thought they had like a pretty good 2 deep, but beyond that 2 deep, I was like, okay, I wonder who's going to be the next guy that steps up here. Now Louisville's got some really good depth. It might not be like, All-American type players at every spot on the depth chart and the edges, but it's pretty good depth. You can rotate some guys in there, and you can be confident that the guys can, perform what the coaches want to perform, at least like at a quote unquote replacement level, like at what they're trying to accomplish is what I'm trying to say. Because Miles has starting experience, Tramel Logan has starting experience, Richard Kinley, even though he came from MTSU, so it's a G5, he's still got starting caliber experience. Renee Conga's kind of, I don't want to say the odd man out, but he's a little bit more versatile in the fact that he can play on the edge, but he also took a fair amount of snaps like on the interior on the line. So I think he's probably going to, if I had to guess, probably project more as like a D tackle or maybe even a nose like on this defense. But Clark, when you look at the
Jeff Clark replacement, man, that's what I would consider if you're just describing what you said. He was one of the more underrated defensive linemen Louisville had last year. He played a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Made a lot of plays.
Regardless, we just need these guys to come in and do their job, whatever they're called upon. Like you don't want to have a liability out there at corner, at rushing the edge, or anything like that. You want to be able to, not come in and have I wouldn't expect the same level of play from the backup, but I expect you to come in and, like I said, do your job.
Yeah.
Right. And now you look at the 2 deep and to an extent the 3 deep on Louisville's D line, you're thinking like this is the unit they can rotate. You get towards like the fourth quarter and like where you really got to pull yourself up and dig deep down to finish a play and get to third down and get off the field. Like this is a unit where you should have confidence that they'll be able to, accomplish what they want to accomplish and get the job done. Yeah, I don't think you could say that for – last year you probably could. Maybe not towards the end of the season when some of the pressure was a little hit or miss in the final month or so. But I think it's to the point where that shouldn't be an issue next year because the depth chart across the line is really good. It truthfully might be the deepest spot on the entire team.
Yeah, it's one of those where the D line is deep enough with enough talent that against those more talented teams that are on our schedule, against the Clemson, against the Miami, you're going to be able to cycle through D linemen more and more so that your impact players, so guys like Ashton aren't having to take reps on first and second down every other drive all game so that they're fresh to come in and make impacts late in games. So
yeah, Yeah, man.
I wouldn't be shocked to see.
So for me, my spin zone on this is I think NFL teams are going to want Ashton to play pretty much all those snaps. I think they're going to want to see him in 99 point. If he's taking reps off, I mean, it'd be one or two where he's subbed out. I think they want to see him go, and I think he also will probably want to have as many reps as possible on film at as many different positions as possible as well. So I mean, like you said, Keith, the zero tech with him, I think is a very real possibility of something that we could see, and that would be just nasty.
Like a 3rd and long package where you have like Logan, Gelati, Reiger, and let's just say Conga on the D line. Just rush 4, have fun.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Man
and then
up
you're good on your secondary. I mean, you're good with your secondary, saying, "Hey, you got."
And our secondary is really good too.
Right, you got MJ Griffin and Devin Neal, and Tamario McDonald, and you've got all of those guys. You know, the corners are endless at this point. So, I mean, look, man, that's what makes this team. I was asked on the show I did right before
complimentary football.
Is
Ron English will be in his bag.
Is Louisville a top 25 team? And I think because of what they have in the trenches alone, they are. Defensive line, offensive line, top of the AC, top right up there at least. And then you look at that secondary, running back, quarterback, you start to combine tight ends, linebackers. There are definitely holes. There are questions about this roster still in terms of like how things are going to work out. But this is a team that can win 10 games. 11 games maybe. And I mean, you're going to beat a lot of good teams if you do that. But
I'd give this team,
good team too.
The team this year, I'd say if I was putting together a line this year versus last year, I'd say this year's probably favored by 3.5, 4 points. Opening line
against just
us last year. Last year's team.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
and last year's team was really good. Like I don't mean that to be a knock on them. Like this team it's got a lot of potential, and I usually try to be more of a grounded, pragmatic fan, but it's real easy to get real excited with this group.
There's a couple of big things like that have to happen. A couple of really important things. Number one is that with 26, 27 transfers, this team has to mesh. The personalities have to mesh. The goals have to mesh. The desires to win have to mesh. You look at, and I've used this example, and it's not. Don't laugh, Ed, because there's a lot of extracurricular activity involved. But like Arkansas men's basketball last year is a good example of what you can become very quickly if you rely on the trip. Yeah. Everybody's facing the same time. It's like, they did suck.
Well, I mean, they just that's like if Jeff Blum recruited nothing but wide receivers for this.
Right. I was gonna say it's like, oops, all guards.
Right, but you get my point, though, right? The portal can be.
I've got 5 point guards and 1 basketball.
I think the culture that they're, I think the culture is just trying to establish a winning culture, like the guys that you bring in.
But it takes a Penny Boone.
Focus.
Correct, and that's why the stories of did Jeff clear the Rockets out?
Care how good you are.
Right, exactly. There's nobody bigger than winning, right? I mean, that's the
and what a lot of these kids, it blows my mind, y'all. And like we used to sit up there in the staff room and be like, do they realize like more kids get drafted if you win? Look at our 2018 football team. Look at that team. Nobody drafted. I don't think anybody signed an undrafted free agent contract. Maybe like Mickey Crom with the steal. Like, look at that team. And look at the 2016, 2017 team. Look at Makai and those guys. Like,
that's a good point. Winning, winning helps. It really does. I mean, look at the.
It's why Rudy Gobert won DPOY.
I think that was just, hey, let's give it to one guy, but we can't give it to Wemby as a rookie. But
yeah,
you gotta earn it.
Sorry, that's not an apples to apples.
No. But I get what you're saying. Though. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you're like a giant apples to oranges and pears.
I'll compare all the fruits.
Let's
don't clip that out of context, me.
Are you still? Oh wait, never mind. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the recruiting class and what Louisville can expect this season. I mean, I know we've been kind of watching how things have gone with commitments, and the way that it historically had worked is that this point in the kind of recruiting cycle, Louisville typically would be, well further ahead in where their class kind of fallen at this point. The transfer portal has certainly impacted Louisville. It seems their strategy is really to kind of fill gaps, to find those development guys, maybe one or two big names in the recruiting, and maybe a quarterback each year. But really, the portal is where they're getting the majority of their guys at. So I have, in true transparency, not kept up with recruiting outside of the commitments. So let's do this. We're going to run through the commitments for Louisville this far. Keith, let's start with you on that, if you don't mind. I don't know if that puts you on the spot at all, asking you to pull talk through some of the guys that are committed. And then Matt, I would love to and Keith as well, really kind of dive into who is Louisville recruiting kind of in prioritizing in the class, and where do they stand with each of those players. So Keith, if you're good with it, let's walk through who is committed for Louisville. It doesn't necessarily have to be everybody, and we don't need a full synopsis of each player, but just a quick, brief update of where the class is, maybe where the rankings are, and things of that nature.
Yeah, well, I can start off first off with the most recent commit that Louisville got last week. I believe it was on the 2nd. Grant Hauser, big tight end. And Vince, this is a kid that I feel like you're really going to like. He's out of Wapakoneta, Ohio, bit of a rural area. So like one of the concerns with him was like level of competition he's playing against, because you see him out there. He's the biggest kid on the field in about 80% of the highlights you see him in, because the kid's got a huge frame, like 6'5". He's listed.
There's a difference, though. I remember watching Keontae Goodwin's film, not to single anybody out, and he's the biggest one. He's the biggest one out there, right? And we're like, why is he not finishing people? He's not finishing anyone.
That's what.
If you watch, go ahead.
Yeah, you're gonna love this kid. So massive frame, 6'5", 230, long arms. Probably a hell of a basketball player, if I had to guess, sight unseen. At 230, he looks like he can probably gain about 30 pounds and still be at a very good playing weight. Vince, the reason you're going to love this kid, he's not a diva tight end who just wants to catch the ball. Wapakoneta runs the ball a lot, and this kid loves run blocking, and he's nasty with it too. Like he's running guys like 5-10 yards downfield, throwing dudes into the sidelines, caking guys into the ground.
I love it.
He gets after it. In the passing game, watching him, he's smart, like especially for a high school player. He's good at finding holes in zone defense and sitting or helping the quarterback out. If he sees a guy coming out of the pocket, he's instinctively taken off with the quarterback, drifting to that side of the field with him to give him a throw. Like I mentioned, the only cons are really because he's so much bigger than a lot of the people he's playing. You haven't really got to see him truly tested in a lot of tape, and his speed's not anything that's going to jump off tape. But this kid coming in looks like he has the build and the mentality to just be a gritty blocking tight end.
What you can't teach is aggression. You just can't teach that, and that's going to translate to the next level. I mean, he's going to fire off the ball, and he's going to hit whoever he's lined up against the same way he's hit those high school kids his entire high school career. So
yeah,
that's one thing. I mean, you just can't teach it.
So Grant Hauser, probably not going to be a kid who's getting a lot of reps his freshman year on campus, but if he's a guy who comes in, sticks with it, and develops, could be a fan favorite in years to come. He's got the grit. He will definitely be a podcast favorite.
He's the dude that Juggernaut and like the ones, Mason Roger and them will hate going against because he probably goes a little bit too hard. But
so a couple of other commits that we had actually earned us some accolades and some off-season camps. We'll start with the first one, North Oldham, actually. Grady Anthony, kid from
Goshen.
Yeah. So he was invited. This was earlier in the year to a Best of the Midwest combine. I believe it was put on by 24/7. And it had kids from Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and even had some Canadian kids in it. And so this was while he was at 24/7, now with On3 Steve Wiltfong. So we have a quote about an On3 person talking good about a Louisville recruit.
I'm surprised they didn't scrub it.
With a combination of good feet, quickness, and strong hands, Louisville offensive line commit 2025 class Grady Anthony controlled the point of attack, taking on speed rushers, bull rushers, all the same, winning a majority of his reps. And now take in mind, these are camps where you're in T-shirts, and any O-lineman in the audience, those are the worst type of one-on-one reps when you're just in shorts and T-shirts because you got nothing. You got nothing to hold on to, and you've got no armor. So it's like, oh, I'm getting bull rushed. Guess this is my life.
You're not allowed to, Keith.
So to stand out like that and to look that dominant in an underwear Olympics camp is very impressive. So, but yeah, kid's listed 6'5", 270, big kid, could come in early. And also watching his tape, and you'll notice this with another O-lineman, also has that nasty aggression, which is something you almost have to have as an O-lineman. Like if you're passive, you don't want to finish block, or don't want to finish blocks, or you just want to leave guys alone, I don't want you. So for the other O-lineman commit we have right now, Jake Cook.
Jake Cook, I'm going to enjoy that one, man. That'll be fun.
Well, he's been performing very well, so much so that Ohio State is still sniffing around on him.
No.
So
we gave you the last one. You took our kid from New Albany. You can't have this one.
So he was named a top performer at the Under Armour Next Camp Series, which was an event that was in Canton, Ohio. Shout out NFL Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And this was a quote from Alan Trejo. Cook was one of the offensive MVPs, and it was no surprise to anyone who watched the camp. He had an excellent day, and the improvement from last year's camp to this year's camp was stark. For one thing, he's trimmed down, is moving much better, and looks like he's been working on his technique as well. Brings a competitive mentality in addition to that. Massive riser from the event, and I believe they rank, and like the number one prospect is named the camp top dog. He was in that next 5 listing of camp attendees. So damn near earned a top dog, which, I mean, I'd like to be called top dog. That sounds cool as hell.
Yeah, look, man.
And the one who's
Jake Cook,
and the one who's been earning the most sort of camp buzz this offseason, quarterback commit Mason Mims. That's right, folks. We're talking quarterback recruits. Tune in and click on it.
Love it.
He attended multiple Elite 11 camps. There was
Pierce
one in
Clarkson, Pierce Clarkson for the
exactly.
Pierce
Clarkson, Deion Sanders, Pierce Clarkson. So Mason Mims attended the Elite 11 regional camps at Oxford, Mississippi, and Atlanta, Georgia. At the Atlanta, Georgia camp, he was named a top performer, and also there was a 9-throw accuracy challenge put on by Panini, the trading card company, and he won that competition at Atlanta, which had I'm blanking on his name. He's like the top quarterback in the 25 class, reclassed from 2026 to 25. I'm blanking on his name.
What you're talking about, and I'm blanking too.
I'm gonna just go on with Mims while someone corrects me on that, but yeah, to beat out that kid in accuracy competitions and the tools. And I was talking to Matt about
Underwood?
Not Underwood, but he was. So this kid's tools, like he's not an imposing presence. He's like 6'3", 210, 220 right now. So he's not like going to be the first guy off the bus like you'd see with like a 6'5", 230 Tyler Shuck. He's one of the quotes is that
Julian
Lewis, that's the kid, beat him out in the accuracy competition as well. So some of the summaries, because he's been getting rave reviews from these camps. So a few short weeks after competing at the Oxford Regional, the Cardinal Pledge put together another strong performance. At 210 pounds, the Alabama native possesses a sturdy frame and an arm that's capable of making every throw on the field. Although he might not possess the physical upside of some of the top signal callers in the country, it's hard to overlook the accuracy and consistency in which Mims operates. The Oxford standout should be an ideal fit for Jeff Brom. So the biggest positive tools that Mims has are his accuracy and his timing and knowledge of where receivers are going to be at all times. So all that playbook talk that was making Jacob's eyes glaze over earlier, this kid eats it all up. And I came up with a bit more fair of a comparison because I was talking to Matt before the episode, and I'm like,
I was about to say, are you going to share with the class what your comparison for was?
Well, initially I thought, a guy who really relied a lot on timing and knowledge without having an overly assuming presence or arm was Tom Brady.
Oh my
A little
God.
bit of an unfair comparison. So I switched it to Tua Tagovailoa, like a righty Tui. No, but those are the strengths of his offense. And if you can get a system in place where he knows what needs to be done to beat whatever looks he's going to see, this is where a kid can thrive. That's putting a lot on him early. But
I get what you're saying, Keith, 100%.
Yeah.
This is the dude that Jeff, I mean, it's you have to teach a lot of kids how to study a playbook and things like that. That's not a lot of things that I was very fortunate enough to go to Trinity, a school that taught us how to study playbooks.
You went to Trinity?
It sounds. Yeah, I did, bro.
I don't think you mentioned that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I was gonna say I don't think I've ever heard that before.
I thought you were a Saint X guy.
No. Just had to go there, right, guys?
But
Just had to go there.
but to continue, you actually learned how to study a playbook, but not a lot of high school kids get to do that.
Exactly. It sounds like this kid understands the premise of studying a playbook. I hate you, Jake.
Dude, you just got to keep it moving. Yes, I did go to Trinity.
All the memories start coming in, and all the winning, and all the championships. It's just something you couldn't relate to.
That's right.
No,
that's
what I
that's
can't
a very
either.
valid point. That's true. But hey, like I said, you unfortunately, when you would play Eastern, we found out real quickly about what football really was. That there's no denying that.
Get out of there about 9 o'clock. Start about 7:30.
Yep. Yeah, right. You're out of there third quarter, just watching the game from the sideline, man. 49-3. Another touchdown by Trinity is what we hear over and over again from the Dairy Queen up on Shelbyville Road. But look, I think the one thing I want to kind of talk about is the recruiting here, because again, I'm not tapped in as much as you guys are, but I look at it and I understand it's about finding guys, getting in early, being able to develop and kind of find what you want. But I look at this recruiting, and for 3 years, I heard people bitch about Scott Satterfield and the players they offered and the offers they had. Folks, if you just close your eyes and you look at the blind resumes of some of these recruits to what we got in 2019, 2020, it's very similar, okay? Like, very similar. In fact, Satterfield's recruiting might have been better. I just early. This is finding very niche pieces that you want, getting your quarterback, but nobody is ranked higher than a 3-star. Nobody that I'm aware of is top, 500? I think Mason Mims is the highest ranked player, and he's 696 in the country. There's some room to grow this class, and they need to if they're going to get to the big boy football stage. They cannot keep recruiting at this level and expect for the next 5-6 years they're going to be where they need to be. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, Mason Mims is at 696, and Jordan Allen, the wide receiver, is at 705. So they're right around that point. But I mean, for the most part, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean,
I think it's about what they do with those players. I mean, like Satterfield and them, we knew we got a bunch of 3-stars and everything. A lot of those guys underperformed.
Yeah.
Performed up to the expectation that you would expect those guys to perform to. I think guys have a history of overperforming with Jeff Brom. I mean, look at the walk-on running back he had at Purdue.
Yeah,
he might not have been a walk-on, but
you're right. Yeah,
the receiver he had, I believe, was not ESPN top 300 receiver type deal. I mean, I think Jeff gets more out of guys than what we got. It was set. We were just plugging guys in that ran the playbook well. That were guys that fit our offense and fit our system and fit everything like that. So.
Now,
Go ahead. No, you're good.
So while I will, I agree with you to an extent, stars aren't everything. Like, player development matters, culture fit matters. They matter to a point. Now, Matt, you might know, if any of you follow someone very smart in college football that I listen to a lot, Bud Elliott. He came up with on 3 what was called a blue chip ratio. And essentially what a blue chip ratio is that in order for your team to have a chance to win a national title, you needed to meet a certain talent floor. And that talent floor was essentially having more 4 and 5 star players on your team than you do 3-star and everything else. Louisville has never really been in that blue chip ratio as a true national title contender. And the closest we've ever seen the ratio being broken was the TCU team that made the national title game. And then promptly were 60-pieced by Georgia.
Smacked by Georgia.
Up out there, man. Yeah,
so I agree that the recruiting needs to improve. But in a world where other programs are getting more and more and more and more money than Louisville's going to have available through conference TV deals, I don't know if the blue chip ratio is a goal that we can actively achieve. I think it is. I see the money we're throwing around on other sports, basketball, and I think, the money's there. And I'm not asking for the school to be a top 5 recruiting class. Like, that's not Louisville. That's never going to be Louisville. But to consistently be in that like 30 to 25 range, that's the difference in what we have been in previous classes, like the 2023 class, for example. That's the type of class I want to see. That's a class that, while not quite blue chip ratio, is a lot closer than what you've seen in previous years. And funny enough, most of the top end of that 2023 class is still here.
Yeah.
So also, I'm going to give Jeff a little bit of a break because the 2025 class was the first one that his staff really prioritized when they came in. 2023 was about keeping kids from leaving. And if you're recruiting 2024 kids when 2023 signing, you're already too late.
Right.
So you scrambled. And I still think they got some great pieces in that 24 class. The 5 early enrollees, Dylan Messman, like there's pieces there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a matter of just getting some more of that high-end talent on campus. And we do have some of that visiting. Jadon Blair, who's someone I don't think we're going to get. I believe he's projected more towards either Michigan or Notre Dame, but he was a 4-star kid, was on a visit in April. We have 2 kids coming to visit this Friday. Micah Rice, who's a 3-star kid out of Moeller. We've seen a lot of this sort of recruiting more in the local area. Moeller, Cincinnati, very competitive city when it comes to football. I'm never going to complain about a Moeller kid. And then Jonte Gilbert, who is a kid who I'm pretty high on. So he's a 4-star corner out of Atlanta right now. He is ranked 101st nationally right now.
I need that.
Previously was rated as a 5-star prospect.
Need that too.
Earlier in the recruiting process.
What they
so he's lost
on 3 dropped that 5th star when Louisville offered. Is that what that was about?
No,
24/7 is the one.
Okay. This is the composite rating. So I guess on 3 has something to do with it. So it's because but
they said they knew the algorithm, man.
But yeah, this was a kid who was I believe he had crystal ball projections to Clemson.
Yeah, he's got crystal balls to Clemson, but they came in December.
They came in December, and I think his rating sort of tailed since then. So I'm thinking Clemson's probably going a different direction. And this is a kid who our top competition, at least, so I've got the 24/7 login. So our top competition there is NC State, South Carolina, and UCF. Those are schools that Louisville should beat for our recruit. And this is a kid that's supposed to be on campus tomorrow at cornerback, which is a position we're showing on defense to place a high priority on. It's like, looks like we want to run with a very good secondary. And this is a kid who I think, I don't know if he's got that Aaron Williams dog in where, my first year where I'm actually healthy, I can slot in. But this is a kid who, let him ferment a year, he can come in and contribute early.
Yeah.
Well, at least Gilbert's
quick, Matt,
slightly.
Real quick. Can I ask a follow-up question? And then I want to exclusively get your big board. But Keith, just real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but in college football, is the portal, the freshmen that don't play into the portal as high as it is in college basketball? I know it's significantly more spots available to play in, but in terms of just like the portal entries this season, has it been a lot of freshmen that didn't play, or is it that a lot of guys are coming in and sitting that first season and then giving them a chance their redshirt freshman season?
Now, when it comes to portal entries, like a lot of the stuff that I'm keeping an eye on are guys that are going to come in and be able to start immediately. So you're going to have freshmen that come in and aren't satisfied at their program or kids that want to go, like one of the prominent 5-star, Julian Sayin and Dante Moore. They were 2 5-star freshman quarterback. One, Sayin, came from Alabama. He ended up going to Ohio State, where I think he's going to sit behind Will Howard this year while they let him progress and get ready for next season. Dante Moore actually committed to Oregon after they landed Dylan Gabriel. So he's going to Oregon to spend his sophomore year trying to sit and learn behind him. He came out of UCLA. So the freshmen that I'm seeing hit the portal are sort of those high-end guys who maybe didn't quite find what they were looking for at their current program. For example, Alabama head coach left. So
yeah, of course.
He sees that opportunity, and it's not like Ohio State's a slouch. But at Dante Moore, for example, at UCLA, they kind of struggled this year. Chip Kelly also left, but he hit the portal before Kelly took the Ohio State job anyway. And I think he actually made a mature decision of realizing, hey, I need to learn, and went to a.
Wasn't Moore committed to Oregon originally and then flipped to UCLA, or am I thinking of someone else? Because I'm almost certain that Dante Moore was
I think you're right. I think you're right there. So flipped at the last second, didn't like what he had at UCLA, went to Oregon. But a lot of what I saw in the portal was older guys who weren't necessarily, either trying to get the bag or just trying to get reps, honestly.
Yeah, that's the tough part, for sure.
Look at the thing. I wouldn't argue, let's just say NIL wasn't a thing. I wouldn't have been shocked if Jermaine Lole hit the portal after this offseason anyway, because D tackle was a position of need at a lot of top tier programs, and there was not a lot of D tackles available in the portal. So he hops in, even though he was kind of buried on our depth chart and wasn't getting a ton of reps. So now he's going to get a chance to slot in. I don't think he'll be with the ones at Texas, but he gets to come in, and he's going to be utilized in a lot of run stuffing packages at Texas, and also just happens to get a bag while he's at it. I can't blame him for that.
Matt, you got a snake in your room?
You getting the hook, Matt?
Is he tickling your beard with that thing? I mean, look at it. It's just like chin, 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 like over and over again.
No. We're a big fan of cats over here at the Artoff household.
Oh, that's
apparently
a dog.
got Maynard's ass in my face.
Yeah, that's a dog.
Yeah.
And as soon as it barks, you'll hear it very loudly. All right, Matt, I'm going to ask you this, and then your dog's going to bark. So I hope that you tell him to be quiet. Do you need to hit mute real quick before I ask? No. Okay, you're good.
No,
all right.
Right now, he's trying to dig into the side of the couch like he thinks he's a cat.
Give me
Please get your asshole out of my face.
Top.
Well, while you all are laughing, I just want to shout out Tanner Hickman for a great comment.
I love Tanner, fan. Yes, we're gonna go drill to the eternity, and then we're gonna get Jerry Eves to help us. That's the goal in terms of the long term becoming a blue chip prospect at home here. But Matt, give me the top 3 guys just quickly that Louisville kind of is prioritizing.
So a couple that come to mind are actually a couple in-state guys. Jeremiah Jones, safety out of Murray. He's been someone that's been on campus fairly often. I'm pretty sure he's actually got like a crystal ball pick to attend Louisville, and he's a highly recruited guy. I think he's like top 700 if I remember correctly, and like one of the top 5 or 6 guys in the state. And
he's like a 3-star flirting with a 4-star, I believe.
He's high 3, kind of on that, like scratching the ceiling of 4-star. So like it's a good prospect in terms of like the state of Kentucky. This goes, and you guys know my thoughts on the state of Kentucky recruiting. But anyways, another one is actually one that's just down the road from Louisville is Antonio Harris, the cornerback over at Male. He's not as highly regarded as Jones is, but he's someone who, I mean, they're just down the street, so he's made a lot of visits. The staff has checked in on him a lot. He's also been trending towards Louisville for a while now. So honestly, I would be shocked if either Jones or Harris didn't commit to Louisville. I mean, they would have to just completely stop recruiting altogether at this point, which, I mean, they could pop tomorrow for all I know. They've spent that much effort recruiting those 2 guys in particular. I mean, those are the 2 of the first couple guys that come to mind. I know, Keith, you just mentioned how John Blair visited recently. Jonathan Gilbert is going to start his visit tomorrow. A couple other, top 500 guys that I'm kind of got my eye on. Now, I say have my eye on. It's going to be a little bit difficult to land them because they're top 500 guys and 4 stars. Kind of scratching on the surface of a 5-star. One is C.J. May, a defensive end out of Alabama. He's going to be taking a visit towards the end of this month, and he'll actually be on a visit with a lot of guys, including cornerback Ben Hanks out of Booker T. Washington in Miami. And I mean, give me all the South Florida kids you can get, especially at a skill position like corner. You know that they're a dog. Sure. And he's ranked 107th in the nation. So those are 2 guys that I've got my eye on. Just kind of looking through some of like the visit log. I know next month they've got a linebacker from Miami Central, Ezekiel Marcelin. He's a top 500 guy that's going to be on campus. Another guy, 2 more guys, and I know I don't want to rattle off every single name.
I know I said 3, and we're at like 12 now, but that's fine. Yeah, this is you're flexing the J, man. Go for it.
I know. And Chris Ewald, who's from Hollywood at Chaminade Madonna Prep, he's a top 150-ish caliber guy who's going to be visiting midway through. What's up?
Chucky Williams High School.
Is that where Chucky Williams went?
I believe so.
Gotcha.
Chaminade?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did go to Chaminade. Yeah, I remember that now. Yep. But, yeah, long story short, I mean, I know I've personally have seen a lot of people, raise concerns with where Louisville is in this class, like recruiting wise, in terms of like what the recruiting class ranking is, like what the profile for their commitments are. And I understand. And then honestly, I was kind of in that camp too, thinking, okay, would like to see, some higher 3, some 4-star guys get involved. And then I've actually spent most of the day today compiling a list of some of the like top remaining targets in the class that I'm going to have published in the morning at si.com/college/Louisville.
Look forward to Twitter. When it goes up, let me know. I'll make sure it's on the Pink Seats Twitter as well, so our fans can't miss it.
Let me ask you: is there any Miami Northwestern kids on our radar? Curious how that
I'm sure there are. In terms of like the top like priority targets as of this instant, I didn't pick up on a lot of Northwestern kids. I'm sure there's going to be at some point, probably in the 26 class.
Just real quick, I think actually I saw today that there is a Miami Northwestern kid that is locked in an official visit with Louisville. I'm trying to see if I can pull the tweet up, but at least I think so. I could be wrong here.
While you're pulling the tweet up, speaking of tweets,
actually, Antonio Branch Jr.
There it is. That's the one I sent you all earlier.
Oh, was Antonio Branch from Miami Northwestern?
There you go.
What was that, Vince? Yeah. Sorry, missed you.
The picture of Will Stein and Teddy was
awesome. Great. Awesome. Loved to see that.
I mean, that was like,
But yeah, Antonio Branch Jr. I did a little bit of reading up when I saw that. So I know with the new legislation change, now kids can take unlimited official visits. This is very well set to change. But right now, that's a kid who I believe he's a high 3-star safety from Miami Northwestern. He has already visited Nebraska, and then he's set to visit Penn State at the end of this month, and then Florida early next month, and then Louisville after that. And we are the last visit scheduled as of now. And for those of you who follow Cruton, if you're bringing a kid in, you either want to be the first visit or the last visit. So that's a positive sign.
Big news. Yeah, big news. All right, well,
sounds
that
like
is...
Matt to a story.
Do what?
Sounds like I beat Matt to a story.
That's right. You did. Yeah, Matt didn't know. How about that? You need to catch up on your journalism. No, Matt's article tomorrow morning, Sports Illustrated. What's that URL again, Matt?
si.com/college/Louisville.
There you go. All right, check that out in the morning. Let's get to the last. We're going to close the show out here. We got about just 2 or 3 minutes, so we can all go on and get our beauty rest, or at least I can. I've not been sleeping well, so I need it. That is not to say I'm ugly. Actually, I look kind of handsome tonight. I'm not gonna lie, but
it's the dim lighting.
But you know what, Vince? I want to talk to you for a second, sir. You look at me in the face right this second. Making your face at me. You want to know what my son's doing, Vince? My son is able to get out of the freaking crib by himself. Okay, so now he can just help himself. Whatever he wants.
Sounds like he should do some dips.
He probably does. Honestly, this morning we were awoken to him sloshing water out of the toilet onto the floor, Vince. So if you want to make your little face at me a little bit more, I'll give you a real piece of what I'm dealing with. You can come over and stay the
I love
night.
it, Leo.
All right,
I'm gonna
last
give him
thing.
so much candy to eat, so he's just up all night. I mean, it's gonna
Yeah, I bet you will. Yeah, Uncle Vince, he's just handing him pieces of salami. Just here, boy, take this salami out of my pocket.
Y'all see my kid salami tweet about Stallone today? Oh my god, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I did
Stallone
see
and
that.
Ali.
I love that, man. That was great. All
Yep.
right, but last thing, I asked earlier, each of our premier, like, what is the road trip miss and what you're prioritizing this year? I just want to real quick go around the horn. Let's just say we have unlimited funds. We can pay any amount of money. The seats are the same at every stadium. We'll just call it, I don't know, 50-yard line, middle of the field. Free tickets. You get to pick. Where are you going this season, and what road trip are you prioritizing, Vince? I'll start with you.
Notre Dame, without a question. That's the most beautiful campus I've ever been to. And I encourage any fan, us Louisville fans in particular, anytime we play there, I would go to that game. That is the game I have penciled in on my schedule that I'm 100% going to go to, whether I make the drive in a day or I stay for the weekend. I've heard there's a bunch of Irish bars and stuff around there too. I mean, we didn't get to go out and see the town or anything.
There's
like
Chain
that.
Spot. There's a Brothers on campus that I really enjoy. Went there for some Big Ten hockey.
Yeah, see, there's some spots to hang out and stuff, but that and Clemson for sure. I had no ambition to go to Stanford, none at all, unless they play a mascot game. But Clemson, Notre Dame, Clemson in particular, because I didn't get. That's the one stadium I never traveled to. Whenever I was playing and coaching, never got to travel to Clemson. And then, I just remember that 16 game, Robbie and all those dudes telling me, like, the conversation we're having right now, you would not have been able to have because you couldn't hear anybody.
Right,
exactly. It was the loudest ever. And I want some more $2 bills.
Yeah, sure. I guess I can see that. I'll jump in. I'll go next. Just for the sake of difference, I'm going to go with Clemson, just because I know a lot of Louisville fans have been to Notre Dame. I did not go to the game in 2015, but I have been to the stadium and seen a couple of Notre Dame football games. And, in terms of, I would love to go if I could go to all of them. It's not realistic. So for me, there's a couple of reasons why Clemson is the trip. One, the environment you just talked about, but two, I think Louisville might win. I would love to be there to see that. So count me in for the road trip to Death Valley this year.
On this take will eventually be right?
That's right. Correct. I think I've had the same take for like 5 years. Matt, what do you got?
It's just,
I mean, you kind of stole it from me, but I mean, Vince, you touched upon it too. Clemson, it's as much as historic as Notre Dame Stadium is. I mean, Clemson's got the best game day atmosphere out of any road trip in the ACC.
but they're dorks.
That's because you've never drank and partied with a bunch of Catholics. That's how you don't know.
I'm drinking party with Catholics. Plenty.
I'm surprised you didn't pick Chestnut Hill. You don't have any interest in
I knew you
up to your home base? No interest. No, in all honesty, I do think, and Keith, go ahead and give your answer real quick, just so I don't steal your thunder. I don't think you're going to say what I'm about to say, but go for it.
So it's a place that has a lot of history, and that's something that, as a football fan, you really need to value. The Catholic culture is a staple of the city, and that's why Alumni Coliseum in Boston is just a can't-miss place to go for football.
Nothing says ACC football like 45 people.
I never want to go to that stadium again. I hate it.
But you don't want to go to recreate it's just some guys being dudes shot. But serious answer.
That might be the only reason to go.
Serious answer, though, like, I'm going to Notre Dame. Like, that's happening.
Yeah.
But a game I think that'd be really fun to go, and you touched on it earlier, is Clemson, just because I want to see us stick it to them, and I want to see those nerds go, oh, we rush the paw after every game, even when we lose. And I want to see them sad storm the field after a loss.
Watching
so
them
friggin' bad, because I hate those dorks. There's nothing even dislikable about them, except they're such dorks. I want to shove all of them in a locker.
You say that. I was around all them dudes from Carolina, right? They hated Clemson. I remember standing over to the side watching them run out with Mick Harbaugh. He's like, crappy ass mother fuckers. I can't.
Oh, I hate him.
He's just cussing up a storm.
Oh my
like,
God.
I can't stand him. Oh my God.
I'm here for
Like,
that
you want some
energy,
pads?
man.
You need a helmet?
Oh,
I will say though, the last thing I was going to say, Keith, and I thought that this is where you were going for a second as a joke and went to Chestnut Hill, but I was going to say I would love to check out Charlottesville. It's close. I mean, from a football stadium perspective, they have
Scott
the
Stadium
it's
is
cool.
actually nice. I've been there
yeah,
before.
Yeah, of course.
and
you
that's a program with some history too. It's not like they're a bunch of
No.
Chris Long played there. Like Bronco Mendenhall was their coach, also top 5 football name of all time.
Yes, and
Like-
give me all of the quarterbacks that are numbered 26. I'm here.
Also,
I encourage
just-
anyone to go to NC State. Given
I don't want him to have a good game against us, but Anthony Calandria is just so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like,
he's broke.
He either is going to have the greatest game ever like he did against us, or he's going to throw for 4 interceptions, and all of them are hilarious. No in between.
No in between. That's correct.
All gas, no brakes.
Not a single break. All right. Well,
I remember watching that Virginia Maryland game because I had drove up to Louisville, Indiana, and I spent the night there, and I was watching that game from the hotel. Virginia went up 14-0 and then gave up 42 straight points to Maryland. Yeah.
Sometimes you forget to pack your defense, man. It just be like
Sometimes.
that. All right. That is going to wrap the show up. We're about an hour and a half, one of the longer shows so far of the off season. But we thank you all for tuning in, talking a little football with us. We will continue to do this throughout the off season. We got some off season content coming as well. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on social at Pink Seats Pod, at the State of Lou, at Matt_McGavick, at U of L Report, at Vincent Lococo, at producer_Keith. There you go. There's all the names. And,
Bang, bang.
and of course, when I say follow on social media, I what I really mean is subscribe on YouTube. Please go and tell your mom, your dad, your friends, send it to your neighbor. Yes,
Hey, we got to get to 1,000 first. Come on, 1,000 people tuned in tonight to watch this. Go to the YouTube, subscribe. I want that 1,000 so bad.
I want a plaque.
I check that number far too often throughout the week, and Keith checks it more than I do. So, yeah, we're grinding for the 1,000. Please subscribe. As I mentioned, tell anybody that is a football fan to check out the show. And we will be back soon. I don't know the exact date at this point because schedules are fluid. We'll figure it out. Life is crazy. Football is happening. But we will be back soon to talk more Cardinal football, NFL, and everything in between. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, go Cards.